This is Golden Years, a roadmap to navigate retirement with Mark Cordner, the podcast.
We've talked about this before, Mark, that some predict that 2024 could have the worst recession we have ever seen. Well, JP Morgan's Bill Engen tells CNBC that, keeping cash on the sidelines is not necessarily a bad move.
This whole mantra of cash is trash just makes me laugh. Do you know the 5-year return on the Barclays Aggregate Index, which is the S&P 500 of bonds, is negative? You've lost money in the bond market for 5 years. That means you lost your entire coupon and some of your principal. And yet people keep piling into this stuff. You know what the single best performing asset class is among traditional fixed income asset classes over the last 5 years? Cash.
All right. Well, the latest prediction is the Fed won't start to cut interest rates until later in the year. Are you telling clients with cash to enjoy the favorable rates now, or is there a better place to keep their money?
Well, I would certainly say there's a better place to keep their money, but relatively speaking, cash has been a good position now. I mean, he's absolutely right in that respect. I think he's just narrow in his considerations because he's looking at market-based instruments, and there are non-stock market-based instruments out there that can get better rates of return even than cash at the bank. So it is wonderful that the banks, for example, are paying 4 and 5% on certificates of deposits now. For the last 20, 25 years, we jokingly called those certificates a disappointment because the rates were so low. But now they're up and they're a good short-term consideration. They're safe and there's a respectable rate of return. But even with that said, I'm not a big advocate of this idea of trying to jump into the market or jump back out of the market when we see these predictors, because truly God alone knows what's coming in the marketplace and with the world economy. And so when there's talk of recession and all, those things are absolutely going to happen in the future. If it's going to happen within this calendar year, I think is anyone's guess. And certainly some people will guess right, but those are guesses at the end of the day because truly God alone knows. So my belief is we set up what I call a two-pocket strategy. We put a portion of our money in principal protected accounts, which are safe from the market. They're not in the market, and they get respectable rates of return, sometimes indirectly linked to the market, so we can get better than average returns, sometimes double-digit returns outside of the market in an entirely safe place. And then we have some money in the market because we want historically to be able to outpace inflation by having that money there. But we don't play this little hokey pokey dance of when to get in and when to get out because we as humans are too limited. We can't fathom the global market and all the gazillion different actions that are taking place at any given moment in the market. All those things affect the economy and the aggregate. And we can't guess when the good days and when the bad days are going to be. And the studies are overwhelmingly clear. If you miss the top 10 good days or the worst 10 bad days of a decade, then you're going to have an amazing difference in the returns. But the reality is none of us know which 10 days those are going to be. And so you got to stay invested is the bottom line. A portion of our money needs to stay invested. A portion of our money needs to be in that second pocket, as I call it, the principal protected accounts where we can't lose money. And cash is not the only place to be safe. So if these ideas are confusing to people, come talk to a professional who deals with the various financial instruments that are out there and learn a bit more about what's available, because there are lots of options that this gentleman and others who come from a market-based approach don't consider. And certainly when it comes to retirement planning, the preservation of assets and safety is a very important topic. And there are options that the market-based people don't talk about.
Just talking about the market here and the economy overall, it's no secret. Lots of things distracting us in the news, with the latest Trump verdict. And now we have this crazy election year happening here. A lot of folks might be hedging their bets on how the economy is going to do based on who gets elected. And a lot of people wondering, okay, well, do I just kind of hide my money under my mattress and then start making financial decisions and then in November? So what are your thoughts on this with the political scene, the political distractions, and our money in the economy?
Well, I think there are a lot of things that we just can't predict. I mean, most of the conversation's been around the Fed and the idea of, will interest rates come down at any point here? And I don't think they're going to come down nearly as quickly as people expect. I don't see it happening this calendar year. But, there's an interesting saying that when interest rates reduce, that's when we refinance our mortgage. When interest rates go up, as they have recently, that's when we refinance our retirement. And so this is actually a really good time for people to be looking at their accounts. We're doing a lot of repositioning of client assets where we're getting out of certain contractual environments into better contractual environments simply because the terms have changed as a result of interest rates going up. And we're doing a lot of that right now for people. It's wonderful because as a fiduciary, I don't work for any particular investment or insurance company. I work for the client. And so we can look across this vast array of institutions and look at products that are a good fit for the client. I mean, particularly when it comes to safe money options, there's 2,000 odd life insurance companies here in the United States. And then when we can look at those and we can we can find a good fit for the client. So if people don't know about these things, come visit with us. We'd love to help you and introduce you to some ideas. These are educational conversations, certainly for the first couple conversations. We're just trying to see if it's a good fit for us and for the client to work together. But invariably, there's things we present to them that they've never heard before. And that I find that a lot of fun. And for the clients, it's often exhilarating to know they don't have to live with the anxiety that they've had. There's ways to avoid that anxiety and to have peace of mind through educated decisions. So come visit with us.
Financial author and speaker Susie Orman is constantly warning people about retirement. Her latest is, if you think you're ready to retire, think again. She says for most Americans, their savings will only last about 3 years, and says the greatest threat to your comfort in retirement is not the stock market, how much you've saved, or exorbitant spending. It's not having a plan. So have you met with people who have been, good savers? They've done everything they could, but they don't have a plan necessarily.
Yeah, absolutely. We do these regular classes, adult education classes down at the local college, and we do them every 6 to 8 weeks. So these are free events for the public. And the people that tend to come tend to be people who are conscious of their retirement. They've been preparing. They're not trying to wing it. If this has been a focus for them over the years, and the number one response we hear is, "Oh my heavens, I wish I had heard this information 10 or 20 years ago," because again, we don't know what we don't know, but there certainly is value to visiting with people like myself who have focused on these topics for 30 plus years. In my case, 32 years, 8 different professional designations. There's been a lot of focus on these issues, and we're able to share ideas about planning that people have not considered. I mean, for example, do you have a tax plan? Has that been a conscious part of your planning? Ed Slott was just in the news this weekend. He's perhaps the best known CPA in the country. He's known as America's accountant. He does PBS shows. And he says that the number one problem is that people have too much money in tax-deferred retirement accounts. That deferred, again, means postponed. It means later. So taxes are coming on those accounts. People think that money's tax-free. It's not. And so what plans have you made to pay those taxes in the most time-friendly manner? Because we are in a historically low tax environment, and it often makes sense now to convert accounts from tax deferred into tax free. And those are some of the concepts we teach people. But so there needs to be a tax plan, there needs to be a volatility plan, there needs to be a health care, long-term care plan, and absolutely there needs to be an income plan. Where's the income going to come from, and how are we going to make sure it's dependable? I mean, that's just off the cuff, 4 quick types of plans that people haven't often formally considered. Their whole focus has been on how do I accumulate as much as I can to prepare, when the focus needs to transition to how can I keep as much of what I've accumulated as possible? Because it's not who has the biggest pile of money, it's who has the best income. The income is the game, not assets in retirement. It's all about income. Come meet with planners who understand these issues. I mean, I've just mentioned 4, tax, volatility, income, and healthcare planning. If those haven't been part of your considerations as a couple, come meet with us. There's no obligation to it. We don't charge for that initial consultation. We want to share ideas with you, and we'll put things right up on the whiteboard so we can see what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are the future problems? Because if we know there's a future problem, that means we have a current problem, because we know it exists. And if you have a problem, when do you want to find out about it? Later or as soon as possible? And so that's where these good fit meetings, I think, have their greatest value, is people get to see what are the potholes that are coming for them that they may not have considered. So yeah, come visit with us. Call us up, just schedule a time, and we'll help in any way we can.
Investment advisory services offered through Golden Years Financial LLC, a registered investment advisory firm. Insurance is offered through Golden Years Insurance Services. These firms do not provide legal or tax advice. Consult your own legal and tax advisors before taking actions that may have tax implications. Investing in securities involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Insurance contracts principal protection is based on the claim-paying ability of the respective insurer. None of the information contained on this website shall constitute an offer to sell or solicit to buy a security or insurance product. The information and opinions contained on this site or requested from this site are provided by third parties believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. They are provided for informational purposes only and are not a solicitation to buy or sell any of the products mentioned. Any media logos and/or trademarks contained herein are the property of their respective owners, and no endorsement by those owners of Mark Cordner, Golden Years Financial, or Golden Years Insurance is stated or implied.